I was in IT quality assurance for nearly 20 years. So that's a long time to be playing with software, trying to break it, trying to make sure that the thing that we promised the client that the software would do, it did do, and the things that we promised it wouldn't do, it didn't do. And so when it came time to mess around with I had developed a very, I think, realistic, some might say cynical view of software in general, meaning that all software has limitations. All software has sweet spots that if you meet it halfway, it can do a lot of the things that developers promise that it will do. But it takes a certain amount of pliability from you. So when I started messing around with I started getting results that friends, colleagues, what have you, were not getting. And there was a lot of questions like, well, aren't you agitated by hallucinations? Aren't you finding that it can't do most of the things that you want it to do? And I wasn't running into those things because I understood that this software is just the next iteration, meaning it can do a little more things than previous iterations could do, but it still has a lot of the same baggage, a lot of the same limitations that software has always had. In this video, I want to teach you guys how to use AI as if you had my 20 years of QA experience. And what you'll find is you won't be as frustrated by what it can't do, and you'll also be better able to tap into what it can do. We will start with the thing that I think most explains the difference between the excitement of AI and the frustrations that people have with it on a daily basis. And that is a lot of software can do a lot of great things once. But then if you ask it to do it again under the same parameters, you'll start to see, oh, it didn't do it quite as well. And then you ask it a third time and it did it even less well. And I think this has to do with what we in software development call the happy path. And this is a dirty little secret in software development, in that a lot of times when we are demoing software, we are very much directing it like a magician. We are directing your attention toward the things that we know work really well, and deliberately not going down paths that we know right now don't work as well. And I think a lot of times with people that do hype videos on the things that AI can do, they are focusing you on that happy path, on the we did it one time and it did this amazing thing, but then not showing you the 13th, 14th, 15th time they did it and the degradation of results for any number of reasons. What you want to do is you want to have your daily use of AI stay away from those edge cases. Edge cases are test cases that push the software to its limit to see what it can do and what it can't do, what that breaking point is. In the scenario where you can have it do an amazing thing once, but then it can't repeat it, that means you have hit the boundary of what it can reasonably do consistently. Consistency is so important when it comes to daily work. And it's one of the things that, like I said, a lot of these hype videos try to obfuscate your eye from. But being able to do something once amazingly doesn't help you in your day to day. You're looking for those scenarios where it can consistently, with a watchful eye, give you consistent, reliable results. Once you have those use cases where you know writing a certain prompt a certain way gets good, consistent results, you still want to have a critical eye because there still may be some things you can tweak to make it even more reliable. And so don't just dismiss those, oh, sometimes it will have a number rounded to the wrong decibel or something like that. There's still room for improvement. So what you want to do is look at scenarios where it does say have that rounding error, and scenarios where it doesn't. And then look at those prompts and look at the data sets and see if there's something you can determine that triggers the rounding error that you can remove from your prompting. And so there, and this is what we call meeting the software in the middle, right? It's like, I've identified this as something that trips you up, so I'm just going to avoid that, closer to that happy path scenario we were talking about earlier. Another QA trick you can use to limit those unwanted results from your prompts is by limiting the variables. In GPT, there is a place where you can go into the settings and you can turn off memory. Having memory turned on, which it does by default, means that the different chats that you use in GPT will all talk to each other and say, hey, I've learned this about this user. Here's some data for you. I always, when I use GPT, I have this memory turned off because that way that's fewer variables that I can't account for when I'm trying to figure out why my prompts aren't giving the results that I want. Another way to limit variables is using something like NotebookLM, which, if you guys are not familiar, it's another chat bot, but it allows you to dictate very specifically the data that it gives its answers off of. You can either provide the documents to it from your desktop, or you can go out into the wide world web, but specifically find, I want you to use this article's data. I want you to use this that I found online's data. And it will not only give its answers from the data that you've given it, but it will also cite where it found that data. Another way to control variables and look at ways you can tweak your inputs to get better outputs is to use the same prompts over multiple chat models. Say you're a ChatGPT power user. Every once in a while, take one of those prompts and put it in Claude, put it in Gemini, just to see how it's interpreting your prompts. What you might find is, one, some chat models are better at certain tasks than others. And then two, seeing how a different chat model approaches your problem may give you some insight into maybe some issues you're having with that primary chat model that you use all the time. And finally, all these tips and tricks don't do you any good unless you document your processes. This is something that QA folks have been doing since the beginning of checking behind people's work. All of these data points that you find as you start to poke and prod and experiment with everything that you learn, make sure you're documenting it. Make sure you're writing it down so that you can build a database of best practices to get the results that you want more consistently. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you in some way, maybe with some of the day-to-day agitations you have with AI, and help you get more consistent results from a tool that can be amazing under the right circumstances, as long as you have your head on straight. Thank you so much for watching. We will talk again soon.